All right, here we go. Today is a video that if you're in my Instagram broadcast group, was one of the ones that was suggested to me when I asked people for some topics. And it's a good one because actually a lot of inexperienced artists seem to struggle with the differences of these two roles. So today we're going to discuss the role of your agent and manager, how they are involved in your DJ career, what do they do, and I'll answer some other things in between there, like when you should get one and stuff like that. Um, First, I want to just kind of address like very often. I do so. I was a long time promoter. I've been a promoter, event curator, nightclub owner, ran nightclubs. Like I've been on that side of the business all my career, 18 years of it. The last 4 or 5 years, I really started to dive into right before the pandemic, I started to dive into artist management. Obviously, right as I got a little bit of momentum with one of my first artists, the pandemic happened. That put a big pause on it. When things reopened, I put all my focus back into events, and I've been really focusing again on management the last 2 years. So I would say I have a bigger perspective on this as a promoter, but obviously as a manager as well. And very often I have new artists come to me asking me to manage them. And they're like, Travis, I want you to help. I want you to manage me. I need more bookings. I need more bookings. I get this a lot, the I need more bookings thing. And today I'm gonna kind of divide like that because your agent handles one thing, your manager handles another thing that complement each other. And I think having a better understanding of this will make you a little bit more equipped to preparing for having these conversations with these people when you're ready, as well as just understanding who you need to do what. And next time, before I dive into breaking down each, I kind of want to I want you to understand the hierarchy of everything. You, the artist, or the boss. You're essentially the CEO of the company. Everybody works for you. I would say next in line is probably your manager, and they're probably almost considered a unofficial business partner because they're just involved in every aspect. You'll talk to them every day. They get paid on everything you do. And then below your artist, your manager is everyone else. Will be your booking agent, publicists, social media people, tour managers, whoever else you hire on the team, depending on how you expand. You might launch a label, you'll need a label manager. All these people will work and report to you. And I'll go more in depth on how that part works as I break down each role. And I think it's just very important to understand this because as these people enter your career, it's really important to understand what they're responsible for, what they're capable of doing and not capable of doing, and so forth. So first, we're going to get into the booking agency side, right? And I'm going to start with this one, even though I would say the manager should be the obvious place I start because they're like next in line to you and the artist. But since most people ask me about bookings, I figured I'll just start with this. So the booking agency will be reporting pretty much to your manager and the artist. You'll talk to them on a pretty regular basis. I wouldn't say daily unless you have an insane tour schedule, but probably early in your career, once, twice a week type of thing, maybe a little less, to be honest. Every relationship's slightly different. Um, your booking agents are obviously responsible for bookings. They're the ones that are going to go out and get you gigs, build your tours, create your routing, negotiate with promoters, and organizing the show fees and anything else related to the show. This will be the person who will be your direct communication with promoters around the world. And how this is usually broken up is you might have agents for different territories. Now, if you're like a super top tier artist and you decide you don't want to do the boutique thing and you go to one of the larger agencies like William Morris, CAA, UTA, um, some of these agencies will represent you for the entire world. And even some of their artists on the agency won't even do one agent for the world. Most often, what happens is it's broken up by territories. You might have an agent who handles North America, another one that handles South America, another one that handles Europe, another one that handles Asia, and then it could also be some random combination where one artist that I manage has the same agent for North and South America and a different agent for the rest of the world. And then another artist I manage has an agent that does the United States and Canada and Mexico, but then their European agent handles South America and the rest of the world, and they have an a separate agent for Asia because they get a lot of demand there. And and it's important, and there's no one size fits all model for this. Every artist, every manager, they're going to create different bonds and relationships with different people. What might work for one artist might not work for another artist. And you just kind of always need to remember that there's no black and white for this, right? And, it's just very important to understand that, right? So that's the agency's role. They're gonna get you the gigs, right? And I kind of want to go into how deal structures work. So there's gonna be the deals on how you get paid from the promoters, and then there's gonna be the deal on how the agent gets paid for what they do. When it comes to your agent and manager, everything's commission based, so it's performance based. If you're not working and you're not making money, neither are they. And the incentive for them to make money is to make sure you make money, correct? And the percentages can work in a ton of different ways. Booking agents can range from like 10 to 20%. If you're touring pretty often, and depending on also what the booking agent's responsibility, if they're only getting you the shows and maybe they're not handling your logistics because your management's handling it, you might get much less percent from them. If they're handling everything, including your logistics, because it's something the management doesn't want to take on, they might get more percent. And even with my artists, I manage a couple artists. One of them I handle all their logistics, another I don't. I don't like handling logistics, but also some agents prefer to handle it and some don't. It's kind of this weird again, there's no one size fits all model. So that's kind of like the average percent. The smaller you are in your career, probably the bigger the percent is going to be. And I'll explain that more in the management side so you understand it. And then next is the deal structures of the promoters. There's going to be three common deals. I won't say that there's not a fourth or fifth in there, but 90% of them are going to be one of these three deals. And actually, I would say one of these three will be the least likely out of the three, right? So I would say the most common deal you're going to have with a promoter is what we call a landed deal. A landed deal means your fee, your art, whatever they pay you, if they're paying you $2,000 for the show, that fee includes you being landed where they are. So that means you have to pay for your own flights. This is the most common. And you pay for your own flights. And then after that, the promoter is responsible for everything when you're in their city. So they'll cover your hotel, they'll cover your car service to and from the airport and to and from the gig. And then they'll cover your hospitality rider, and then your hospitality rider could even be renegotiated sometimes. Sometimes you might get a limited rider, sometimes you might get an included dinner, sometimes they might take you out to dinner, sometimes there might be a per diem for things like this, sometimes there might not be any of that. Those are all kind of variable discussions, but essentially this is the most common. It's a landed, you're paying your own, this fee includes your flights. So that cost is on you, and it'll be up to you and your manager to make sense of all that, right? So that's the most common. I would say the second most common, and as a promoter, I'm probably doing this one more frequently than the landed these days, is what we call an all-in deal. And that means the fee includes everything. That means you, the artist, will get your fee. You have to cover your own flights. You have to cover your own ground. You'd probably do an Uber to save money, and you get your own hotel and and then the only thing I would take care of is the promoter would be like your rider at the venue. But like your dinner, per diems, like none of that would all be included. And just to give you an understanding, it's not like it's going to be the same fee as the landed. It'll probably, if normally you get $2,000, say in Miami, I'll probably give you like 24 or 2,500. So it covers your your hotel and your ground. It's kind of just built into the price. Maybe it's because we're running a more indie operation and we don't really have an internal team that wants to deal with booking 2, 3, 4 hotels and organizing car services every single week. It's just really for me at least, it's to streamline my responsibilities as a promoter, right? So those are probably the two most common deals you'll see. And then the third is the least most common, and it'll kind of play a role if you're like super big or if you're flying to like odd markets, which is called there's different names for it, but I call it like the plus plus. In the plus plus deal, the promoter will cover your fee, your flights, your hotel, your ground, your hospitality. Everything is separate. With my smaller artists, this is very common in like very odd markets where there's logistically not as often flights there. Maybe the flights are very expensive, different things like that. A good example, just off the top of my head, usually in Venezuela, they'll cover our flights, right? Um, and then I guess if you're a super big artist, like super, super big, multi six figures, maybe you're negotiating private jets and things like that within your deal. Again, this will probably be, especially for those of you watching this video early in your career, this will probably be the least most common you're going to see. Usually you're going to see the all in or the landed, and then you'll go from there. And then next, there's two different ways how the booking fee is sorted for your agent, right? Most of the time, well, no, it's different in different territories, right? So sometimes your booking fee will be included in that fee. Sometimes it'll be on top, and the promoter will pay it completely separate to the agency, right? So here in North America, we usually just do like, hey, if this is the fee, that includes everything. Like in a landed or an all-in deal, that includes everything from that fee. You pay your booking agent, you pay your manager, so on and so forth. So yeah, in North America, your the booking fees, your agency fees, your management fees, like all of that is usually included in your deal structure, right? In some territories, South, Europe, Asia, and again, even within all those, there are subsectors where they'll include the booking fee in it, but very often, um, there will be two separate fees. You'll get like, it'll be called like, let's just say again, you're getting $2,000, or if it's in Europe, you're getting 2,000 euros. The fee might say 2,000 euros landed plus, BF, which is booking fee, right? And what they do there is there'll be two separate invoices. One will be for your artist fee, one will be for the agency's booking fee. They're paid separately. One might go straight to the artist, and the other goes straight to the booking fee. In America, where it's all kind of joined into one, usually the promoter just pays the agency, and then the agency will pay out the artist, right? And every agency will pay out artists different. Sometimes it's at the end of a tour, sometimes it's every month. Maybe early in your career, work out a deal with the agent where, like, if money's tight and you're like, hey, it'd be great to get paid every weekend after the tour so I can recoup myself for any costs, right? Again, almost everything's usually up for negotiation, but these are the most common. I would prepare yourself for all in or landed deals that 90% of the time, if not more, you're going to be covering your own flights and to account for that. And maybe at some time, maybe in this video, I'll do some breakdown of economics and how this all works. Next, that's kind of the overall of the booking agent, right? That kind of covers everything. As always, if you feel I missed something, shoot a comment and I'll reply to it. I reply to everything at some point, usually within 24 to 48 hours or so. Next, we're going to dive into the manager. I would say this will probably be your most essential person to your career outside of yourself, right? Your manager, I mean, at least for me, my most successful projects are my artists where we talk every day, sometimes 20 times a day, 10 times a day, 3 times a day. Sometimes I talk to my artists more than my family, it just is what it is. Like, there's always so many moving parts that it's almost impossible to not talk out every little thing and be on the same page constantly, right? But essentially, your manager will oversee your entire global career. Remember how I said your booking agents might have territories? So your North American agent will only make money on you in North America, and your Europe agent will only make money on you in Europe or whatever territories they cover. Your manager will get a piece of everything, and not just touring. They'll get a piece of music revenue, publishing revenue, merch revenue, sponsorship revenue, partnerships. Like, I mean, just anything that is created within your global brand, they'll get a piece of, unless you negotiate otherwise, right? And I once had an artist that I was taking on, and they had some cool music going on, but really they weren't making any money yet. And they wanted to negotiate out merch. And in the end, we were able to settle where I kept merch, a piece of merch. And the reason why was I was like, if I'm gonna build your brand right now, your merch probably sells nothing because you have a handful of friends. But if in 5 years you have millions of fans and you're selling serious revenue of merch, it's because of everything we've built together. So why shouldn't I get a piece of this pie that didn't exist? Correct? It's not a greedy thing. It's a, we work this thing together, and we're in this as a team, right? And often I like to tell people, I mean, if you're looking at like company structure, your managers like your COO, but they're also like your business partner. Again, they get a piece of everything, like everything. They have every incentive to make sure that you can succeed the best you can. They should be the person that pushes against you. They should be the person that's not your yes men, where all your friends and DJ peers and girlfriends or boyfriends or whoever is in your life is going to tell you your music's amazing and your set was great, and they're never going to want to hurt your feeling. Your manager should probably be the one who's the most honest with you. They're the one who's going to break your heart and tell you that this thing could be better. And they're doing that for the overall goal of helping you grow and actually get better, because the more you grow, the more you make, the more they make. It's a win-win, right? So probably a good manager will be the most honest person in your life, or should be. And then outside of that, your manager will usually be the one that hires and deals with all the other roles in your business, right? Sometimes I've met artists that got agents first in their career and then found a manager later, but I would say those are pretty rare. It's usually that the manager's gonna enter your career first. They're usually not really a bookings person, but to help you make some money, they're gonna try to help you get some bookings here and there, but essentially they're gonna help you with your your short-term goals, your long-term goals. They're gonna help you develop your and shape your brand as an artist. They're gonna help you achieve music goals, if there's certain label goals you have, if there's certain collaboration goals you have, if there's certain touring goals, they're going to be the ones to help you achieve those. Like, maybe they're not going to always get your booking, but if you're doing really well in, let's just talk about an American artist. If you're doing really well in Miami, New York, California, but maybe you haven't entered Chicago for some reason, they might not always get you that gig, but they're going to come up with a strategy to get your name into the mix in Chicago, whether it's a collaboration with something in Chicago, whether it's a marketing strategy, whether it's something that I haven't even thought of, right? Their job is to help you grow in every way possible, to shape your career, and to help enhance your vision. And it's very important that when you find a manager, you and that person have the same vision. And if you don't, there's nothing wrong with, either figuring out a way to get on the same page or finding someone else who does. I've once managed an artist, and after 6 months of just not being able to get on the same page, I saw his career as one thing and he saw it as something different, and we just couldn't line up on the vision. Stepped away. I was just like, look, I'm not the manager for you, right? I think you need to find someone who sees the vision you see, and can help you get there. But since I don't see your vision, I'm not the person to help you get there, right? And this could be a variety of things. Most often, the commission side of things. Everyone always, the big comment for me was the commissions that these people get in your career. So this is the interesting one. There's a range of 10 to 20% here, right? Early in your career, they're gonna want like a 20% commission. If you're already touring and making a ton of money, it's very easy to chop this down. I've even heard of managers getting less than 10% with like really big acts. But But I'm gonna explain it all. Like, for most of you watching this, you're probably making, less than, like, low 5 figures a year at DJing and producing. So if someone's getting 10 or 20% of that, it's not livable money, right? And as a manager, if I were to sign someone that's like a super strong local DJ, making music already, getting signed on labels, but not really touring yet, not really generating income yet, um, I'm signing this artist with this idea that, like, all right, it's probably going to take us a year to 2 years just to develop and tighten your brand, to get you understanding the mechanics of the business more, to get these releases out, to let them market and all the other strategies play out. So, like, I as a manager might make a couple $1,000s a year off you, or maybe 5 or 10,000 a year off you for the first couple years. So the reason I might want a higher percentage isn't because of the money on the short term, but it's for in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, when everything finally hits, or hopefully hits, that the percentage is there to make up for all those years of essentially free or dirt cheap labor, right? And it's important to understand that, like, the amount of hours that's going to go into this thing, and potentially this person who believes in your career isn't going to make anything. And same thing with the booking agent. Sometimes booking agents will get, sometimes they get on you really early and they believe in you, and you almost want to reward them extra for taking that journey, that almost that no pay journey with you, right? These are the only two people in your career that are going to be percentage based. If they do a great job, stay loyal. Make sure they get their keep, because they put in the time to be there with you. And I like to speak out on both sides. With that, and I'm also going to go into the negative sides of the management and the agency. I'm not going to try to fluff it all up either. Um, but that's pretty much the breakdown of management, right? They're going to oversee everything. They're gonna find you your booking agent. They're gonna grow you in territories. They're gonna help you build relationships with artists, with other promoters, with anyone in the industry. They're gonna help you network. They're gonna open doors. Like, all those things is what they should be doing. With that being said, I also want to add, none of these people have a magic wand, right? They're a tool to enhance what you're doing as an artist. If you're not consistently making music, and that music isn't consistently getting stronger, if you're not on top of your social media, your marketing, your brand building, um, going out and socializing and networking and building relationships yourself, your manager can only do so much, right? There's a lot you need to do. There's tools and ammunition you need to give them, so they can go out and convince the world that you're this amazing artist that they should see and pay to see, right? So that's kind of the breakdown of those two rules. I'm just flipping through my notes. I'm sorry, making sure. Like, also, they're gonna be the one that, once you're making real money, 5, 10, 15, 20,000 a show, maybe 6 figures a show, they're going to they're going to get you PR people when you need it. They're gonna if you eventually get tired of the social media stuff, they're gonna hire you social media people, content people. Maybe you need a tour manager because you're doing 200 or 150 shows a year, and it's just that you need someone on tour with you to deal with all the day to day, because that's exhausting. They're going to help you find legal and lawyers when you need it. I want to bring this up. I mentioned it in another video, but I'll mention it again. The lawyers. This is key. Your agents, you'll probably never have an agreement with. Those are usually pretty handshaking deal, unless there's like some guarantees of money, or thing. I've heard of different deals where there's like certain guarantees in place. Maybe to take an artist from one agency to another. Again, haven't dealt with one of those myself, so I'm not going to comment too deeply on it. But that'll be your manager's job to deal with that. But for the most part, with agencies, there's never an agreement. It's a handshaking deal. You could leave them at any time. They could drop you at any time. But ideally, hopefully, you find a relationship that works well with your management. It could be two sides if there's an agreement. With my bigger artists that I manage, I don't have an agreement. We've been friends for 15 plus years. He was already touring and making money, and we just did a handshake and deal. We both trust each other. That one's good. With a very small artist that makes no money, I might want an agreement in place that protects me on the long term, right? Because and they usually call this a sunshine clause. I'll let you dig into that deeper, but a sunshine clause essentially protects me as a manager, where if I dedicate the next 2 to 3 years and make almost no money with you, and then right when you finally take off, some other manager wants to swoop in and take you, I'll get some XYZ percentage for a couple years after you leave me to kind of protect me from all those years of free work, right? And why I'm bringing this up, some managers are probably going to hate that I'm bringing this up, but I think it's important to understand this stuff. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is I told you your manager will be responsible for hiring everybody in your career, including your lawyers. There's only one time I'm going to tell you that that's not true. If you're doing an agreement with a manager, this is the one moment in your career that they technically don't represent your best interests yet. I'm not saying that they're going to do something bad, but they technically don't represent your best interests. This is the one time where you want to go out and get your own entertainment lawyer and have them review the agreement that the manager is sending you, right? Because this is the one deal that benefits them or not. There could be something slimy in there, but there could not be. And even if there is or there isn't, you want to have someone who you're paying and you've hired to review that agreement and to make sure you're best protected. Once that's done and they're officially your manager, then I think it's pretty safe to say it's okay to trust them to get you lawyers for future things, because now that income benefits both of you. But this would be the one time where if you're signing an agreement, you're very well protected. Get a lawyer, not that expensive. I know money could be tight, but this could be something very critical to your career and your future, on how you may pivot or pay them or navigate things, when they become unhealthy. In the most ideal situation, hopefully everything's like rainbows and butterflies. You make a lot of money, your manager are happy, your agents, your team, and everything are happy. But there's times where things become unhappy, and you want to make sure that if you ever need to leave, you're protected. And this goes on the same on the management. And just how I said the sunshine clause is there to protect the manager for all those years of potentially free work during the building phase. You, the artist, need to make sure you're protected if there's ever a situation where you need to lead too. Everybody should always make sure they're well protected in all these deals. And hopefully they just go smoothly and everything goes good. We've obviously all heard horror stories, so that's why these protections are in place. And then to wrap this up, I want to say something, or like most of you are very desperate to get a manager or an artist. It's fair. You might see someone else with things happening and they have a manager and artist. And because you see that happening, you're like, if I had a manager, or I don't know why I said an artist, if I had a manager or an agent, uh, things would be going better for me. And I want to say that early in your career, that might not always be true. One, I'll say first, try to stay independent as long as you can. Learn how to get your record signed. Learn how to get yourself some gigs in your local market. Learn how to get yourself some gigs touring. Learn how to work out your record deals. Just try to do as much as you can early on as you can, because when you have a team, understanding all the things that they do very well will help you make sure that you're not getting screwed. It'll help you understand that, hey, this manager knows what they're talking about. This agent knows what they're talking about. So I'd say do everything as long as you can. The truth is, the truth of the matter is, this early in your career, if you're making a few $100s or under $1,000 a gig, and even maybe under a little bit more than that, any manager who wants you is probably not experienced enough to do something to really help you make a difference, right? Um, And the only time, I mean, I've jumped on 2 artists that were in that range, but it's because they just had a different spark. The music was unbelievable, and I didn't wanna miss out. I didn't wanna wait till they got a little bit bigger, and then maybe another manager grabbed them up. But most of the time, I really won't take on a developing act, because it's too many years of not making money when I'm already as busy as I am and I can't dedicate the time I need. So, I just want to make sure that you're very careful with this, because if the person is very inexperienced and they're going out there and they don't know how to conduct themselves at events, they don't know how to conduct themselves when they talk to promoters or labels, they might burn bridges for you and they might tarnish your name before you even had a chance to make it. So I would say very early in your career, if you're gonna take a manager, I would even go with, like, someone who's just, like, a friend of yours for 5, 10, 15 years. Maybe they don't know anything, but you both will learn together, but at least you know that person so inside and out. You know how they conduct themselves, you know how they behave, and you know if you can trust them being the voice of you. Because your manager, your bookers, your publicists, all these people will be speaking on your behalf, and you want to make sure they don't need to be the most experienced person, but you want to make sure that they know how to to speak to people and to conduct themselves, and that they're gonna make new relationships or existing relationships stronger and not burn them or ruin them. Because usually when relationships get burned, there it can be forever. Even if you fire that manager and get a new one, it's pretty hard for me as a manager to go and repair an artist's old previous problems, right? It's actually a taxing headache, and as a manager, unless you're making ridiculous money, I probably won't wanna take on having to repair your relationships. It's easier to go with somebody with a completely clean history than somebody who has a bunch of tarnished relationships because somebody else couldn't handle themselves correctly. So I just wanna give that as a great warning. And just to add that, having a great team will open doors, they'll protect your time, they'll this man by the way, all this the one thing I mentioned to manager is, like, them handling all this stuff for you allows you to focus on creative, allows you to focus on music, perfecting your DJ sets, getting better at producing, focusing on getting stronger records. On the creative side with marketing or content, I think it gives you more time for that, but they'll also help you. They'll help you with ideas for that. They'll just overall take all the nonsense that is not fun about the business and deal with that for you, right? And then just remember what I said at the beginning. You're still the boss. All these people work for you. If there's something like, remember the example I told you where me and an artist that I had for 6 months, we couldn't get on the same page with things. No matter how many times I kept telling this artist that this was wrong, they wanted to do it their way, and they had every right to tell me no. Like, I work for them, right? But then it got to a point where I had to decide if I wanna just do what they tell me is right, and if I don't believe it's the right model, it's not gonna ever work or make money, or do I walk away like I did? And walking away can benefit me, but it also benefits the artist. It allows them to go and find someone who believes in their dream the way they see it, and get the right person for that job. And then just to add, like, don't worry about a team too early. Focus on your brand, focus on your music, focus on getting better, focus on building momentum and hype. Because if you build momentum and you build hype, if you have strong releases, if you're creating some hype on social media, if promoters and labels are starting to talk about you, the right manager will come to you. You will not have to come to them. I promise you that. I've gone and hunted out all the acts that I've been most passionate or successful about. And the ones that maybe convinced me to manage them and I didn't hunt them out, we never were able to get that correct synergy. So, like I said, just be patient. It'll come your way when the time is right. Um, learn everything you can. Watch more content like this. It will help you. Read, I forget the name of the author. Read everything you need to know about the music business. I think it's by Douglas something. I'll find the link on Amazon and I'll put it in the description. That's a great book. There's tons of other podcasts where they interview artists and industry people. Like, learn as much as you can about the inner workings of the business and try to handle as much as yourself. It'll ultimately benefit you. Being able to handle every situation yourself will only make you better. I can promise you that the 10 artists, the 10 DJ producers that we all know that are at the top of the chain, they don't go out and just get the best manager and then go, all right, hands off, they'll handle everything. These people work, like I said, you work like partners, like a marriage. You'll work side by side at the biggest level. Those artists are constantly collaborating with their managers to have the most successful career. And it's usually the artists at the bottom or the middle who think that because they have these people on their team that they don't have to worry about any of this stuff anymore. And then that's where things kind of plateau and fall off. As a promoter, I've seen it time and time again. As a promoter who's booked almost everybody at some point and worked at major clubs, I've been privileged to work with the best and the smallest and the medium and the big artists. I've worked with almost every management company. I've seen how they all worked. I've seen I've seen the types of teams that make stuff really, really successful, and I see the types of teams that have a little momentary success and then disappear in a couple years. Um, so in the ones that have the most success, the artists, even at the biggest level, could essentially manage themselves. And they're so hands-on on every single aspect, and they work so well with their team, and they're able to do that because they've been able to understand everything about the business. So learn as much as you can, do as much as you can yourself, and the right team will naturally make its way to you. So I think that's a good ending point. I'm sure I missed something. So if I did, shoot a comment below and I'll answer it. And maybe I'll make a follow up if there's enough things. And hope you liked it. Hope it helps you. And subscribe, like, comment, follow, all that nonsense. It really helps the channel grow. Appreciate it. And I'll see you on the next one.